All right, ladies, thank you so much for being here today on Empowered Conversations with Dena. I am your host, and today we are talking about self care, the truths, the myths, and the must haves. And let's just kind of start off with what is self care? And the very basic definition of self care is to practice the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's well being and happiness. So when we think about self-care, we're really thinking about how are we preserving, protecting, and enhancing our own well-being and our own happiness. And I would like to ask you guys right off the bat, is there something that you love to do that is one of your must go to, or I always find myself doing for your self-care? Gina, and feel free to just.
I love taking baths, sometimes twice a day. Laura's laughing. Laura's laughing because she knows this has been true for years and years. It's very grounding for me. I absolutely love my baths.
Nice.
Aww.
And Mary just chatted in, me too.
For me, it's time alone.
Time alone. Yes. Do you have anything, Sherry?
I like going for manis and petties.
And I think Mary would say me too, as that's what she's doing at this very moment. And I said, how perfect, because we're talking about self-care today, that you're actually doing an act of self-care while you're on the call. So I thought that was great. For me, self-care for me is a few different pieces. One, being alone is definitely one of mine. I am an introvert / extrovert. So I'm that flow between the two. And I really need my alone time to reset. So that's definitely mine. And then for me, honestly, it is about doing something that I find meditative. And it literally could be going outside and enjoying my flowers. It could be actually sitting in a chair and doing a meditation. It could be being on the yoga mat in a class and just really finding that space to let go on the mat. So those are my really good go-tos for self-care. And self-care really helps us to manage our stress and replenish our physical and emotional exhaustion. And I want to just share a little bit about some science of self-care, because not only is it this topic that we hear so much about and people doing self-care in different ways, but there are also some really good science things that are physically happening in our body. And self-care really activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And what that is doing is that is putting our bodies into a rest and restore state that is helping us to decompress. It's helping us to build our defenses and boost our immune system against illness. So when we are taking this time, we are actively doing things that are truly within our body, bringing this sense of restoration, boosting our immune system, being able to handle stress. And I loved this work from Dr. Christine Neff, who noted that self-care also improves our self-compassion. And she stated it does by, in quotes, being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain or putting ourselves into self-criticism, is where self-care becomes and improves our self-compassion. So that when things don't go well, or we're not feeling at our best, we're able to still be compassionate when we tap into self-care. And I want to ask you guys, have you seen that in your own life? That when you've tapped into self-care, you could actually be more compassionate with yourself. Mary just typed in yes. And would anyone like to share a way that I notice I'm far more compassionate with myself when I use self-care?
Definitely. Mary had commented meditation. Meditation is really important to me. I actually do Laura's meditations, one of her YouTubes, pretty much almost every single day. And a practice that she taught me, I studied under her for Kabbalah, every single day. And if I don't do it, I'm off and I'm not grounded. And once I meditate, it doesn't matter if it's 3 minutes, 20 minutes, or sometimes I fall asleep and it ends up being an hour. That like resets me and really clears my head. So meditation is huge for me.
Yes. And Mary had also said that just the gratitude part, she can tap into gratitude when she is engaging in some sort of self-care, which then leads to that self-compassion. I know for myself, it really helps to shift the mindset. I'm able to come to a place of more positivity and more, being able to be in more gratitude, being able to tap into the positives of an event, of a moment. I'm able to think about maybe examples or ways that I can handle a stressful situation better because I am being more compassionate with myself. I was just talking with a client who finds work to be very stressful. And I discussed with her, even think about the people around you through the eyes of compassion. So not only compassion for yourself, but compassion for others. And it can shift how you interact with other people. And she's like, I'm totally going to do that. Because we then can change the dynamic of how we engage and how we show up in our relationships. And also, self-care can also trigger the relaxation response within us that helps to counteract the fight or flight response. And to know that whenever we're in that fight or flight response, we can also be in that warrior stance. Like we're ready to do battle. We're ready to, defend. And if people have had a lot of stress or consistent compounded stress, we are often find ourselves in fight or flight response. And it's a tough spot to be because then we start to control. We start to want to control things and control our environment. And then that compounds the stress. So imagine the fact of just self-care can literally help us to decrease the fight or flight response. And being compassionate with ourselves helps to take us out of that warrior defensive place. It's pretty amazing. So this is what legit is happening in our body. It is helping our nervous system to function and return back to normal. It helps to boost our immune system. And it helps us to de-stress. It helps our blood pressure, our heart rate, and our digestive functioning and hormone levels get back and return to normal states. So not only is it helping our mind and our mindfulness, it is literally helping our body and our physical body to reset, to come back and work in a normal state, help our immunity. It helps our levels of anxiety and burnout. Any thoughts about that? That's all to me pretty amazing things that are happening to us just with self-care. Did you guys know all that stuff was going on inside of us?
No.
I mean, I honestly did not know all of it. You know, it's great to hear how it does impact so many, especially like our nervous system, and then helps blood pressure and all those other pieces that are probably all somehow combined, but we just don't think of it. And not only, there are even more benefits to self-care, our mental well-being, you know, the ability to have better emotional health. And we can certainly talk more about that. Feeling better, being able to handle stressful situations better. We can handle stress more effectively when we are providing ourselves self-care. We're also able to be better caregivers. When we take care of ourselves, we are better caregivers to others, to those who need us, even to those that depend on us. It gives us that time to be alone, that time for self-reflection. And when we have those things, I think solutions to problems or situations seem to come up easier because we're not on autopilot and we're not flooded with everything around us. We have taken time to step away from things. And walking is like one of the most amazing things, because I swear, like everybody that I've talked to and have mentioned it to, like when we're walking, it's like energy is moving, things are flowing. And so many people are like, I got to clear my head. I got to go for a walk. And it is so true. It's like that flow of energy is happening and things are bubbling up.
I want to share that I did a book a few years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. It's Never Too Late to Begin Again. And you had to do I think it was a 20-minute walk every single day or a 10-minute walk every single day. But you had to do it alone. So no pet, not that I would have a pet anyway, but no headset, no phone, no conversation, no nothing. And it completely changed everything. And I used to walk with my phone in earbuds in and listen to podcasts while I walked, because God forbid I do nothing. But it completely changed. I noticed more. I noticed, you know, a house or flowers or just different things. And now anytime I take a walk, even if it's just a 10-minute walk, I always like put my phone in my back pocket, no earbuds, no music, no nothing. It's completely different. So that, to me, that was a big aha.
Yes.
But the first few days I had to do it, I was like, this sucks. This is boring. I need my music. I need my, but then once I get into it, I really started to enjoy it.
Absolutely. And I think that, like you said, it also allows us to really be more connected. It allows us to be more connected within ourselves, but also the environment around us. I bet you started to notice flowers and you started to notice things that you're like, is that new? Or I never saw that before.
Yeah.
Because we start to be connected, which is another beautiful benefit of self-care. And we can enjoy the sounds of nature, as Sherry said, and being able to allow that to be our music, right? Like hearing the birds singing. And it's like, you know, that becomes something that we tune into, that if we had our earbuds in, we would miss all of this. Absolutely. And when we talk about self-care today, we're talking about the truths, the myths, and the must-haves. So I want to talk about some self-care truths first. One thing that I think is so important is that, and I'm saying this first as a truth because I hear this a lot from women, and this is their truth in the moment. And their truth is, I feel completely guilty. I feel that I am taking time away from my family. That is their truth. And it's actually a myth. And I will talk more about that. But in the moment, that is their truth. But the truth is that it is truly about self-care, is about how we can then be better at taking care of others. Self-care is more about when we decrease our own level of stress, it allows us to handle situations better. Because our stress level is not already here, and then something small happens and it like goes even further. Every time we give ourselves self-care, it allows that level of stress to go down in our body. And that's what we want. So then when something else happens, we don't overreact. We don't then put all this energy and anger and all of this stress, reactive emotion towards something because it had so much else behind it. So we're not overreacting to something that if we were definitely had a lower level of stress, our response would have been much more minimized. So that is absolutely one truth with self-care, is not only is it helping the mindfulness, but it's physically helping our body to be able to handle stress, to decrease stress, and to be better caretakers, better parents, better partners, better coworkers, better friends. A second truth is that it is self-care is self-love. Because we need to nourish ourselves in a variety of ways to rejuvenate our energy, to begin to continue to have more at our disposal to handle situations. So then it becomes self-love. And as we talked about, that self-care also increases our self-compassion, which is also self-love. And being able to be kind to ourselves and to being able to talk to ourselves like we are someone we love, just like we would talk to someone else in a way if we loved them. Another truth is that self-care can be free. Sometimes, especially women with young children, have the feelings of guilt, have the feelings that self-care is taking away from their family, and also have a feeling of, I can't afford it. But self-care can be free. So what are some self-care things that you guys do that are free? Gina, you said take a bath. That's free. From what was that, Laura?
Meditating.
Meditating. Absolutely. Walking. You know, being just even in your backyard, and whether you're enjoying the view or you're sitting in the sun, just soaking up that vitamin D, and it feels amazing. Being at the beach, if you're fortunate to live near water and a beach, being able to be at the beach or be in the mountains, hiking. There are so many options, which is beautiful. Music, Mary said, and that absolutely is one of my strong ones. Listening to music. Absolutely. So there are so many things that you can do. And one thing that I think is so important is, once I had this question asked to me, was, how do I give myself self-care when I'm a mom with little kids at home and I can't get away from them? That's when I said, turn on the music and have a dance party. Dance around with your kids, because they're going to love it. And you are actually getting energy out. And also yoga, do some stretches in your living room. And your kids will love to mimic what you're doing. They will do it right along with you. And it's a great way that you can take care of yourself and your kids are also having fun at the same time. So just a couple of those pieces is important. And then another truth is you have time. You don't need like an hour block of time every day to give yourself self-care. You literally could decide I'm doing 30 minutes, and I could even break that up into 2 15-minute blocks in my day. I may start 15 minutes of my day with a meditation, and I may end my day with a 15 to 30-minute walk. Or you may decide, I want to sit outside for 15 minutes in between meetings because it helps me restore. It helps me rejuvenate. And that is self-care in that moment. So those are some truths. And here are some myths. And I've discussed some of them already, is it's selfish and I feel guilty. Those are actual myths where it is actually self-love. It brings self-compassion. And you need to do this because it restores. It helps you decrease the stress. It helps you reset your body into a normal state of functioning. It helps you feel good. It helps you have more positive thoughts in your mindset and allows you to tap into gratitude far more easier. And we will never be in gratitude and negativity at the same time. You can't be. Number 2 myth is it costs money or it costs too much money. Again, it can be free. And the third myth that I hear a lot is I don't have time. Well, here's where you can break it up into 2 15-minute blocks a day if you need to. If you find that I don't have that half an hour of time. And the self-care must-haves are things that I feel are super important for everybody. Number 1, a must-have is to start acknowledging how much stress we have in our body and where we feel it in our bodies. Because that is that first indicator, because our body never lies and it's always talking to us. So that must-have is starting to be in tune and acknowledge in our body where we feel stress, because that now is telling us you really should do something to help yourself. So that is a must-have, is that body indicator. Another must-have is to start becoming really aware in the moment if I am emotionally reacting to something or am I thoughtfully responding. When we are stressed out, we are more likely to emotionally react, especially if we're not giving ourselves self-care to decompress and take some of that levels of stress down. When we're able to step back and be more mindful and be able to think about things, we will more thoughtfully respond, which is super important. Because if we are emotionally reacting, we need self-care. And we need to do it sooner than later. Because that means my stress level is up here. And I am now probably overreacting to something that if I had taken care of myself, I would not have responded in that way. And the third self-care must-have is boundaries. Boundaries are super important in our lives. And boundaries encompass many things. It could be just saying no. Say if you're someone who is a people pleaser and people ask you to do things and you already feel like your plate is full, but I continue to say yes to things when I really want to say no. You are creating more stress for yourself. The ability to just say no is so important, to set a boundary when you feel that you are tapped out or you are doing as much as you choose to do at this time. It's a great way of taking care of yourself. And also setting that boundary about keeping negativity at bay. So that means choosing to have people surrounding us and in our day-to-day life as much as we can with people that are supportive, that are positive, that are empowering, that uplift. And yes, sometimes starting to say no, the first no's are challenging, especially when we are consistently always saying yes. But that's when we have to tap into ourselves and be honest and real with ourselves about how am I feeling? And that stress keeps compounding me and I continue to not feel well. And now I may take that out on other people in my household because I'm super stressed out. That's when we have to look at those pieces to say, you know what? I have to start saying no. Because now it's starting to infiltrate into my life, into those around me. And now everybody's starting to suffer, including myself. And I think one last thing I want to kind of leave us with is a call to action. And I want each of you to think about what is one self-care option that you can start to do for yourself. And I would love to hear what that would be. What is something that you would like to bring to yourself to help shift your mindset, help your physical body, help your nervous system? Excellent. So reading about meditation, absolutely. Learning about meditation. I think actively doing meditation. Anything new that anyone else would bring into their day, or maybe that they've done before and they realize I haven't done this in a while.
For me is to like shift the way that I go through life, and I had a sense of responsibility for everything and everyone. And now I'm starting to think if I am really responsible for the well-being or the things that I noticed that most of the things are in my mind. It's not people expecting something from me, but it's me thinking that they need something from me. So it forces me to do it and creates conflict when I think I need to stop doing it. But then I realize the other person is fine with me doing it or not doing it. So I'm going through that self-checking of how many really I have to do and what others is just ideas that I have in my mind.
That's beautiful, Laura, because that resonates for me too, is realizing that I don't have to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, what message am I sending? The message is you're not capable.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do it for you. So definitely seeing where I can step back, because guess what? They're going to step up.
Yeah, and also you feel that the relationship is mostly based on love, not in you making sure that the other person is okay. You will feel love even if you are not taking care of that person, because that person is offering you love no matter what you do for them. So it's also a beautiful kind of understanding.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing that's so important with what you said is you're also almost in that moment reevaluating, what does love mean?
Yes.
Love does not necessarily have to mean always action,
Mm-hmm.
doing for others, but the fact of being supportive, the fact of being there, and that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. That was really beautiful. And I think a lot of people would resonate because that resonated for me. And that resonated for me in the terms of being a mother, being a mom.
But we do this with our kids, with our parents, with our friends, with
Yes.
it's like that concept.
Even partners.
Yes.
Even partners. Absolutely. So we are out of time. So I just wanted to give one last opportunity if anyone would like to share anything before we wrapped up our conversation today. Oh, you're on mute.
This was great. Thank you so much. I just happened to have a little block of time and I've been wanting to jump on one of these. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad. And thank you all for being here today, just as being a part of this conversation. And I hope to see you in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you.